Well, good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you guys, we are so excited to be back with you. This is our first broadcast of 2020. And so we're just, we're excited. We got some exciting, hot, lit, fire content that we're going to be sharing all year long. So I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss an episode. It's going to be kind of like a pop-up type of feel this year. And so we're just going to be shooting you guys a post when we're going to be doing the broadcast. And I'm telling you, you just want to make sure you're available to view it. We just ready. How you feel, babe?
Excited, happy to be back.
Yeah, just like we ready. They've been getting the workout in, ready to get this thing going. And I'm telling you guys, you're going to enjoy tonight. Tonight is going to be a broadcast basically about just things that I've been encountering with people for quite some time, different people talking to me as it relates to the blended family dynamic and what's been going on with them and their families. And so we're going to definitely make sure that we talk about some things this year that's just going to just be, life-changing, life-building. It's going to be raw. We're going to have some content that's going to be kind of edgy. Some of it's going to be extremely edgy. Specifically what we're going to talk about tonight. But I found that it's needed. There's some things that the blended family is going through, and we need to talk about these things. For too long, there are issues that have been going on in the family dynamic, and people have been sweeping it under the rug. But if you've been following us for the last 3 years, I'm the type of person, I bring stuff to the table. And so we're going to be talking about this piece on tonight on you just don't know the effects of using a child against the other parent. So many people over the last 3 years or so have been coming to me and to my wife and have been discussing issues that they've had with the other parent and the child. And so there are so many things, guys, that we encounter when you dealing with that specific dynamic of one parent going up against the other parent using the child. Mm-hmm. And so tonight we're going to talk about PAS. And you guys like, what is PAS? PAS is called parental alienation syndrome. And that's something most of you have never heard of, but it's a very prevalent force that's in the blended family. And it's something that needs to be discussed. A lot of you guys are dealing with this issue and don't even know what it is. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like dealing with something that you really don't have no idea of what it is. It's almost like having a flu, but you think it's just a cough. Mm-hmm. Or it's almost like you have some type of ailment and you go and get it. You finally, after weeks or days or months of dealing with that specific ailment, you decide all of a sudden you want to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. And the doctor tells you should have been in here months ago or days ago or weeks ago because we could have detected this cancerous movement a long time ago. And so this is what this is going to be somewhat like. We're going to detect some things that you've been dealing with, and you're going to get a clear insight on what it is, what you're dealing with, and what you need to do to deal with it, to handle it. And so, sweetheart, let's go with our first point there.
Okay. Well, we said the title, you just don't know the effects of using a child against the other parent. So our first point, when a parent uses their child against the other parent for the purpose of self-gain or anger, it is called PAS, parental alienation syndrome.
You guys hear that? When a parent uses their child against the other parent for the purpose, now listen to this, for the purpose of self-gain or anger, because those are the two main things that they use their child for in that instance. This is called parental alienation syndrome. So if you're dealing with the situation with the biological parent and they're using that child for self-gain, what do you mean by that? They're using that child for child support. And I'm going to be clear on that. You're supposed to pay child support. You're supposed to support your child. Absolutely. But if you're using that child just for that sole purpose, because you want something out of that deal, that's what we're talking about. And so if they're using that for gain or anger, you know what I'm saying, because you've moved on and you started a new family or a new life, or you just don't want to be bothered anymore. If you're in that situation, this is what that's called. It's called parental alienation syndrome. And there are countless of men and women that are dealing, husbands and wives, fathers and mothers that are dealing with this every single day. And you have no clue, or you had no clue on what it was. It's a very, very it's a very common issue. It's something that 9 out of 10 people in the blended family deal with or have dealt with. And so we're discussing it because we want to bring light to it so that you can now know how to handle this. So many people are dealing with this thing and they really don't know how to handle it. They try so many different ways, so many different avenues, so many different whatevers to try to get this thing dealt with. But you don't even, how you going to deal with something that you don't know what you're dealing with? Right. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So go ahead, sweetheart.
PAS is the systematic
denigration.
Okay, because I wrote it. Okay. Denigration by one parent, which intent of alienating the child against the target parent. In most cases, the purpose of the alienation is to gain custody of the child and exclude involvement by the target parent.
Now hold on right there. In most cases, listen to this. In most cases, the purpose of the alienation is to gain custody of the child and exclude involvement by the target parent. Now, and that's important to understand, because the gaining the custody of the child has nothing to do with the love for the child. It really doesn't. It has nothing to do with wanting to have that time with the child, or wanting to really be that custodial parent. The primary purpose for that is to exclude involvement by the target parent. Most people, when they're dealing with that, the mindset of that other parent is they want to exclude you. They want to keep you from having an involvement with that child. Why? Because of self-gain and to hurt that parent. It has nothing to do with the love for the child. I remember, you guys know, because I share me. I remember when my son was 10 years old. And so we went, picked him up, brought him up here. We brought him to where we were living at that particular time. And it was for Christmas. I had him for the Christmas holidays, spent some time with him, and had some talks with him. Was like, listen, you're 10 years old now, and I know that you really need me to be a bigger part of your life, so more involvement on a daily basis. And so what I want to do is I want to get you, I want to gain you, I want to bring you with me, and so you can live with me. You're gonna have free access to your mom. You're gonna have free access to your other siblings. But as my son, I know it's going to be important for you to have that time with me. And so he was gung ho. He was on board. He was like, you know what, Dad, I want to do this. I really want to, really get to know you better and spend time with you. And at that time, the girls were gone, and it was just us. And so he would have had his own room, the whole 9 yards. So, his mom, she had other children. And so you wouldn't have to share anything. You wouldn't have to fight for anything. Everything would just be yours. And I remember him going back home, and I get a phone call a couple of days later, and it was like, yeah, he changed his mind. He don't want to come. And so I'm like, what do you mean? He changed his mind. He don't want to come. Yeah, he's 10 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't have a choice in the matter. We make that call. And so it was like, no, he don't want to come. He don't want to leave his brothers and sisters. Now, when I talked with him, he was ready to roll. It was like, okay, I get to spend time with my father on a daily basis. I'm still gonna have access. I can make every birthday. I mean, we had this thing planned out. Mm-hmm. Planned out so it would be sweatless, it would be effortless, it could just flow. But her thing was, I want to hurt you. I'm not really concerned about him. I want to hurt you. And so consequently, we never made that transaction. That transition never happened. Why? Because of this very thing right here. That self-gain. You're more concerned about the money coming in to you to help you take care of the other things that you were dealing with instead of really understanding what's benefiting him, what's going to be best for him. And most times, guys, that parent is not concerned about what's best for that child. Most times they're only concerned about how they can get at that other parent, how they can either hurt that other parent, get back at that other parent, or despise that other parent. And so those were the things. This is the thing that a lot of you guys are dealing with. And so it's big. What Dirk say?
Going through that now. She blocked me. Can't even call her phone for him.
And see, again, like, and I know, sweetheart, I know. Wow. We just got a response that somebody's viewing right now, and they're going through this very thing right now. The parent has been blocked and can't even reach their child. Wow. You know what I'm saying? What was that?
Sent a plant home with him to remind him of our growth, just to have a relationship in his home.
And again, you're doing everything you can do to try to symbolically place yourself in that position, but because you moved on or they've moved on, but then they don't want you to move on. And that's kind of crazy, right? How sometimes they can move on but don't want you to move on. And so
on IG Live. Wow.
And again, that's no way. Watch this. This parent says, I can only communicate with my child on IG Live. You communicate with your child on Instagram. That's the only way you can communicate with your child. That is no way for a child to have a communication with their mother or their father. Yeah. That is no way. What you're doing is you're robbing that child of a future. Mm-hmm. Because you're not understanding that what you're doing today, they're going to pay for tomorrow. Yeah. Now listen to what I'm saying, because you could be that parent. Mm-hmm. And I hope I'm talking to you. What you're doing today, they're going to pay for tomorrow, not you. You're going to have your own price to pay, but they're going to pay for that tomorrow. Because there's a void that you're creating in their life that most times they aren't going to be able to move from. We've seen this all the way around. We got some stories to tell now, trust me. And so you want to make sure that if you're that parent, that you're changing this, because we're going to give you some more stuff to look at. And if you're the one that's going through it, we want to give you some information on how to handle that.
To the missus, saw you on my friend page working out. He celebrated your strength for your age. Oh, wow.
And so this is big, guys. Parental alienation syndrome is the systematic denigration by one parent with the intent of alienating the child against the target parent. In most cases, the purpose of the alienation is to gain custody of the child and exclude, because that's the purpose, to exclude. I don't want you a part of this. I remember in that conversation during that time when I was trying to get my son at 10 years old, and his mother said, I'm the mother and the father. And you guys know me. You know how I go when somebody say something stupid to me. Listen, I don't have no cut cards. If it's dumb, it's dumb. That was to me one of the dumbest statements you could make. Ladies, let me clarify something for you. You can never be the mother and the father. You can be the mother. You could be an excellent mother. You could be a great mother. You could be a supreme mother. I had a fabulous mother, but guess what? She could not be my father. She wasn't designed to be my father. She was designed to be my mother. And that's all she could do was do what she was designed to do. You're designed to be a mother. That's the only thing you can do for that child is be a mother. Now, let me add to that. What you can do as a mother is teach your son, if you're dealing with a son, on how to treat a woman. You can teach him that. You can teach him how he's supposed to care for a woman. You can teach him that from a woman's perspective. But you cannot teach him how to be a man. That's the father's job. And society has duped you guys into believing that you can do both things. And trust me, you can't, because that's not the design. That's not the design. And so we have to be clear with that. And you guys know how you can put your post up there and we will respond. But that's not the design. And so this is what the statement was. I'm the mother and the father. And so just like I explained that to you guys, I explained that to her. No, you're not. You're the mother. You can't be the father. I'm the father. That's my job. That's my responsibility. That's my role to play. And so I said, I'll tell you this. There will come a time where you will beg me to get him because you aren't equipped to do what you think you're equipped to do. And guess what, guys? There was a time that came along that happened. The exact same thing happened because there were some things, because of the void that was created in his life, there were some things that he dealt with that now force you to contact me on a more regular basis to deal with some things that had you not wanted to exclude me, had you not wanted to alienate me, I would have been able to fulfill in his life. And so you got to understand, guys, that this thing is bigger than you. It's bigger than just you getting back at that parent or not even getting back at that parent, because for me, there was nothing to get back. I wasn't abusive. I wasn't a cheater. I wasn't a neglector. I wasn't that type of person. That what happened, that was on that person's choice. That was that person's decision. So it's not always getting back at the other parent, but it is alienation. It is exclusion. And so you got to understand that this is bigger than you. Go ahead, sweetheart. Pick that up.
To that. In other cases, the alienator wants the target parent out of the way to start a new life, or the alienating parent wants more of the marital money and assets than he or she is entitled and uses the child as a pawn.
Stop. In other cases, the alienator wants the target parent out of the way to start a new life. And so some of you guys are dealing with that, where that parent wants a new life. And so they feel like if you're a part of that child's life, then they can't properly move on to a new life because there's still a connection. But see, that's where maturity comes in. Maturity says, guess what? I can have my family, you can have your family, and we can still be a family. We can still respect each other. We can still honor each other. We can still be a part of each other's life. We just can't do it in that fashion. So you don't have to go down that road. Or the alienated parent wants more of the marital money and assets than he or she is entitled to and uses the child as a pawn. And so this is big. This is huge, man. I mean, this is humongous. Where people are using their kids to get more the kitty, more the pie. You know, and it's not to take care of the child, it's to take care of you. It's to make sure that you're comfortable. It's to make sure that you can have out of your wants, not your needs, but your wants, your desires. And so these are the things that that parent would do because they want more. They don't care about that child. It hasn't, I'm gonna say that one for later, but it plays no role in what that child is gaining out of that situation as far as money is concerned. It's all about the assets, all about the money, all about what you can get so that you can take away from that person so that they can't move on to their new life with their new spouse. Go ahead, sweetie.
Oh, I don't know.
The alienating parent.
The alienating parent hates the target parent, and the children become false weapons.
The alienated parent, watch this, hates the target parent, and the children become false weapons. And it's amazing how you can hate somebody that you once loved. That you said you once loved, but now you hate them because of a decision you made or something that happened. But and now watch this. We're not excusing things that have happened.
Right.
We're not excusing things that are wrong. Please be clear in that. But on the same token, you don't use that child as a false weapon because you're trying to get back at that person. You deal with that person for what they've done, and you let that child have the proper relationship that that child needs because it's going to affect them later on in life. You know how many people can't even have a good relationship when they get grown because of the hurt, the anger, the frustration that you put them through because you were selfish, because you were self-gaining, because you were self-promoting. You wanted to hurt the other parent. You wanted to be the one that shined. And now they're suffering in relationships because they couldn't get the love that they were so longing for. Do you understand what you're doing? You have no clue onto how you're affecting that child. A lot of them can't keep jobs when they get grown. A lot of them can't keep relationships. A lot of them are going from person to person because they're looking for love in all the wrong places. A lot of them have turned to alternative lifestyles. Why? Because they're looking for love in all the wrong places. You have no idea of the choices you made or the choice you're making, the effects of that choice long term. Long term. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Oh, that was it for that part.
Yes.
PAS is a form of emotional abuse.
Emotional child abuse.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yes.
Emotional child abuse.
Yes. Parental alienation syndrome is a form of emotional child abuse. That's emotional child abuse. You're abusing that child. When you use that child as a weapon, as a pawn against the other parent, that's called child abuse. There are many ways to abuse a child. And so I want to help you with that. You should do some time when you're abusing that child like that. Why? Because you're hurting that child. You're stunting that child's growth. You're stunting their emotional growth, sometimes their physical growth, their psychological growth, their intellect. You're stunting all these things in their life. And so when they get older, they can't even function properly. Why? Because of the relationship that you hindered them from having with that other parent. That's child abuse. Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay. So when the mother it is a mechanism.
When the mother is the alienator.
Is the alienator. Because it could be either or, though. It could be either or. But when the mother is the alienator, is a mechanism employed to stop the father from having a contact with his children and can be described as the mother holding children hostage.
Now, that was a great point that Madeline brought up. It can be both. The reason why I didn't put it down as both, not saying that it's not both, is because 90% of custodial parents are the mothers. Mm-hmm. Mothers hold the bulk of the custodial parent. And so that's why that was so. We're growing as far as men being the custodial parents when both parents are alive. Mm-hmm. But in most cases, the mother is the biological parent.
And
I mean, the custodial parent. So. Yeah. But no, but the reason why it was that way is because most times the mother is the custodial parent. And so, you know, when the parent is the alienator, or when the mother or the father is the alienator, mm-hmm. It is a mechanism employed to stop the other parent
Right.
from having contact with his or her children, and can be described as the parent holding the children hostages.
Mm-hmm.
And we just shared with you guys how one of the viewers was like, hey, I'm going through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
The child is being held hostage. Why? Because that parent has an issue with the other parent for whatever reason and feels the need to use that child to go against that parent, mm-hmm. or to resolve their issue, or not even sometimes, not even most times to resolve the issue, but just to get at them. Mm-hmm. Just to get at them. Go ahead, sweetie.
The children usually are afraid of the parent and obey the parent as a means of survival.
Now stop. Listen to this, guys. The children are usually afraid of that parent, whether it's the mother or the father. Most times, again, it's the mother. They're afraid. And they use that as survival.
When you say afraid, you mean like
fearful. See, because understand something, guys. You can love a parent, that don't mean you're not afraid of them. And so just because you love that parent and you deal with that parent and you relate to that parent and you have all these different reactions with that parent, that doesn't mean deep down inside there isn't a fear. Now, that fear may be not fear-based as we think.
Right,
because that fear can be disappointing them.
Right.
That fear could be letting them down. That fear could be getting on their bad side. That fear could be having, you looked at differently. And sometimes that fear can be physical. It can be emotional. It can be psychological. So that fear covers a multitude or expands a horizon. So it's not just captured or consumed into one little capsule. So I got to be clear when I say that fear.
Right.
Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay. The child may also be instilled with false memories of the father or the mother, coached and or brainwashed.
Now watch this, because we've seen this one. The child may also be instilled with false memories of that parent. They can be coached and or brainwashed. You know how many children feel like that parent don't love them? You know how many, listen to this, because if you're doing this, stop it. Stop telling your child that that man don't want them or that woman don't want them. They got a new family now. They moved on. They don't care about you. They care more about the other children than they do about you. Stop saying that. That's not true. And you know it's not true. Stop trying to brainwash that child because you're afraid that that child gonna one day want to be with that parent. They one day want to be with them and want to live with them and want to spend time with them. You're afraid of that. You're afraid that they're going to hear the truth of the matter and going to see you for the person that you really are. You're afraid of all these different things. So you're using all these tactics to try to get that child to hate that other parent so that you can look good in their sight. That's huge. You see the look on her face? She's like, my God. We've seen it.
We've seen it. That's what that's
why
we're
exactly.
Them.
We've seen it. You're using these things.
We actually dealt with it. It's
exactly.
Like
you're using these things because you want to make yourself look good and you want to make that other parent look bad. So you're saying things like, "Oh, he or she don't want you. They got another family. This one of the favorite ones. They raising somebody else's kids." We done heard it all. Trust me. We done heard it all, seen it all. And so, but you're using these things as tools and tactics, instilling these false memories because, especially when they're young, they don't really know. Mm-hmm. And so you're fostering a memory when they're young and they're growing up with a memory that's not even real. Yeah. Yep. When I was 5 years old, you wasn't there. When I was 10 years old, you wasn't there. When I was 15 years old, you wasn't there. That's a false memory. They could have been there, but because of all that you've heard for so long, you didn't even know. And when you did know, it served as such a small part of your life and your psyche that it was as if it never happened anyway. And so that child may be also instilled with false memories of that parent and coach and or brainwash. Man, I'll tell you something. It is so sad that you have a parent that will coach their child and will brainwash their child to believe otherwise about that parent. Then you guys heard me say this. One of the things I love so much about my wife is in 23 years, I've never heard, let me say that again. In 23 years, she's never spoken ill of her daughter's father. Never. Never. You guys hear me? Never. Never. I don't know if her thoughts were contrary. I don't know because she didn't say it. So if she didn't say it, I'm not a mind reader. All I know is what I heard or what I did not hear. And so each and one of them can stand before you and say, she's never talked ill about our father. Because her thoughts was, you develop your own what?
Opinion, your own thoughts about your parent.
You develop your own opinion, your own thoughts. And that was her stand. That's what I respect.
Still say that today. Even sometimes today they come and say things, and I still say that's your father.
Exactly.
That's your dad.
Even still today. That's why I say in all this time, I've never, even still today, she keeps that same position as it relates to that. She's just not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. And unfortunately, there aren't too many people that's mature enough to do that. Mm-hmm. That's maturity. You're a mature person when you can take that position and say, you know what? I'm not going down there. I'm not going down that road. Listen, that's your parent. You're going to spend time with them. You're going to love them. You're going to honor them. You're going to respect them. I don't have nothing ill to say about them. You'll get old enough to develop your own opinion and thoughts about them. But as far as I'm concerned, it is what it is. That's your parent. Yeah. And that's how I'm going to leave it. Never was a time where they were used as pawns. They were used to get back. I listen. We had this thing so systematically set up that I was the one taking them when it's time for visits. Get in the car. Let's go. I'm going to make sure you spend that time. I'm going to make sure you get the proper time. And watch this. Not only would I take the girls, but then I would pick them up. And there were times when their father did that, but he didn't have to worry about that because he knew I was going to do it. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it was important to me that he spent time with his children. I understood the effects of them not being there. I came from a two-parent home. I saw my father every single night. It wasn't a question of where my father was. Now, I don't know everything that he did, but I do know where he was. I know when I laid my head down at night, my daddy was in that other room. Now, what he did from the time he left the house and he came back, that's what he did. But what I know was I saw him every night. It wasn't a question of where he was. And I knew how that affected me as far as relationships, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to always be present. I wanted to always be accounted for. I wanted to always be there. If not for anything else, I can say I was there. I wanted that. And so it was important to me, even as far as their dad was concerned, to give him that. There's not going to be any pawns or any tools as relates to these babies because they didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to come here. That was the product of two other people's decisions that had nothing to do with them. They were just a product of that. And so they shouldn't have to suffer because of now the decisions are different or the choices are different. So that child may be instilled with the false memories of that parent, and they could be coached and or brainwashed. Now we're going to talk about warning signs of PAS. Warning signs of PAS. Go ahead, sweetheart.
The child's hatred extends to the target parent's extended family without any guilt or remorse.
Wow. The child's hatred. Now watch this. This is a sign. This is a warning sign. If your child is exhibiting this behavior, this is what they're dealing with. the child's hatred, watch this, it's going even past you. Mm-hmm. It's going even past the target parent. Now it's going against the extended family. That child's hatred extends to the target parent's extended family without any guilt or remorse. Go ahead. What you gonna say?
Nothing.
No, go ahead. What you gonna say? Go ahead.
I'm just gonna right there.
Go for it.
Little, little Thanksgiving thing when.
No, go for it. Talk about it. That's what we're here for.
You tell your
no, you
story.
said it. You tell it. It's not my story. It's our story.
That's your story.
It's our story.
No, it's our story. No, it was when we went to our youngest daughter's house for Thanksgiving, and our son was supposed to come with the family because the majority of us was there for Thanksgiving, and he texted said he was coming, but see, it goes actually beyond that. But he texted and said he was coming. Mm-hmm. We waited and waited, got ready. We were supposed to go pick him up, and he was like, "Okay, I'll, I'm gonna text you once I get dressed." Mm-hmm. And we waited. Like, he ain't text yet. I know he dressed by now. It never happened. He never answered his phone. He never answered the phone when we call or when you call.
And so it wound up going on even a week longer.
Yeah.
And so it was almost 2 weeks.
It was almost 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks later, I get a text. Hey. Hey, still mad about Thanksgiving? No, man, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in your decision. And so your decision was based upon you feeling like, or you've been told for years that I care more about this than this, mm-hmm. which isn't true. But because, again, that parent wanted to use you as a pawn, wanted to use you as a false weapon, you believe that. Mm-hmm. Why? And it's easy to believe what you don't see. Yeah. It's easy to believe that because if you're not around me, or you're not around that biological parent or that other parent, then it's easy to believe something because you don't know. There's nothing to base that belief off of other than what that person is telling you. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, even clearly text me, said, "Hey, listen, man, I don't know them." It's like, yo, I don't know them. Why I want to be around people I don't know? You know what I'm saying? They don't want to know me. No, that's not true. They do want to know you. But you've been brainwashed to believe that they don't want to know you. You've been brainwashed to believe that you're not a part of their family. And so since you've been brainwashed to believe that, that's what you believe. Yeah. And unfortunately, most times when a child has been put in that position, most times they don't want to believe anything else.
Which was kind of crazy though, because just a few years back, he was with us when we was all in when we went to Florida for a holiday. Came and stayed overnight and everything. So I don't know why this time it was different.
Well, see, because watch this. Again, that was 5 years ago. Yeah. That was 5 years ago. So Apostle always says something happened, time passed, and something happened. Yeah. And so watch this. Something happened. We went down there. We spent time. We had a marvelous time. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, invested in them the whole 9 yards, invested in his children, invested in his fiance, invested in one of his siblings. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know what I'm saying? All those things, that was something happened. Right. Time passed was the time from that incident or that moment to Thanksgiving, and then something happened. Mm-hmm. So that time passed, a lot has happened in that time past mm-hmm. that went back to what you were hearing all along. Or even not, sometimes you're not even hearing it, you're just rehearsing it. Because sometimes you get to a point, and then this is what I'm talking about on the damage that happens with these children, because now they're rehearsing what they heard. Because you can hear something for so long, that now you're just rehearsing it, and it's as if you're hearing it every single day or all over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? Now that thing is on autopilot. Those words are on autopilot. And you're looking at your life, you're looking at your circumstances, you're looking at what you're dealing with, and the only thing you're hearing is those words. They're on autopilot. They're just constantly going, constantly going, constantly going, constantly going. And so that's important. Go ahead, sweetie.
Wow. The child's reason for not wanting a relationship with the target parent are primarily based on what the alienating parent tells the child. Kind of just
go ahead.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
The child develops serious hatred for the target parent and rejects a relationship with the target parent without any legitimate justification.
Stop. The child develops serious hatred. Listen, guys, because we got to share this, because we got to stop this. We talking about the blender, man. We can't have good fruit or good vegetables in this blender, and then you got stuff that's sour or rotten. Because guess what? Somebody can get sick. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening a lot of times in this blender is people are getting sick because we're not making sure that we're examining the fruit or we're examining what's going into this blender. And when you don't do that and now you're trying to consume it, guess what happens? You're tasting some stuff you ain't got no business tasting. Because you should have dealt with that. You should have plugged that out. You should have used that long before now. Mm-hmm. The child develops serious hatred for the target parent and rejects a relationship with the target parent without any legitimate justification. You don't know why they don't even want to deal with you. You don't know why they don't want to see you. But guess what happens? Now they develop serious. We talked about hatred, but then there's serious hatred. See, there's levels to this thing, man. And you thinking as that parent that's pulling that string, that you're the puppet master, you think that they're gonna grow up one day and be over it. No, they're not. They're not gonna be over this thing because they hurt. They're suffering. They're going through. They don't know what to do. And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't in a position where they can hear better. A lot of them are not in a position where they can learn better because they're stuck around you. They're stuck around that poison. And so that child develops serious hatred for the target parent and rejects relationship with the target parent without any legitimate justification. Go ahead, sweetie.
The child sees nothing good about the parent and only wants to destroy the relationship.
They don't see nothing good about the parent. Nothing good about the parent. How you don't see nothing good about the parent? When you haven't even had the time to be around the parent. Or if you did have time to be around the parent, you're forgetting about all the things they did for you. I mean, some of you guys, man, are just, showering your children with gifts and presents and vacations and all these things, and their hatred is so huge because of what they've been hearing over all these years. And you're looking like, well, why do you hate me so much? Why do you despise me so much? And you're trying to figure this thing out. But guess what? That's why we're talking about it. Now you know what's going on. You've been trying to figure out what in the world is going on. It's called parental alienation syndrome. That's what you're dealing with. And so you've been struggling with this thing for so long. Now, guess what? Now we can identify it. Now that you identify it, now you can properly fight it. Now you can properly come up against it because you can't fight something you don't know what you're fighting. Mm-hmm. You can't come up against something you don't have no idea what you're coming up against. It's easier. It's like fighting somebody with a blindfold. You just swing in the air. That's all you're doing, hoping you can hit, and you nowhere near that person. Well, guess what? We've taken the blindfold off. We've given you clear vision because this is 2020. Now you got clear vision. Now you know what you're fighting and how to fight it. Go ahead, sweetie.
The child is a parrot of the alienating parent with the delusional and irrational. With the same delusional and irrational beliefs and consistently sides with the parent.
The child is a parrot. Probably want to crack.
You said with the same.
The child, you guys hear what I said? The child is a parrot. And what do parrots do? They repeat.
Mm-hmm.
They repeat exactly what they hear. They repeat exactly what they hear. The child is a parrot of the alienating parent, because the only thing they're going to say to you is what that parent said.
Right.
You don't want me. You never wanted me. You was glad you moved on. You this, you that, you this, you that. Guess what? That's a parent. That's what they're doing. They're repeating what their alienated parent has told them. With this, watch this. With the same delusional, because you know what? Guess what? If a person lies long enough, they'll believe that lie.
Mm-hmm.
They'll believe that lie. You know how it is when you look in that closet and you know you ain't supposed to wear that, but you wear it anyway, and you telling yourself you look good in it. If you say you look good in it long enough, you're gonna believe it. But guess what? We don't.
Don't put me in that. You say you, don't put
No,
me
when
in
I'm saying
that.
you, I'm talking about people.
I know.
I'm saying people. You know what I'm saying? Because you're telling yourself you look good in that. You know that's too tight. You know we ain't got no business seeing your belly button. That shirt should come down further than what it's coming down. We ain't got no business seeing your crack. Your pants should come up higher than they come up. But because you're telling yourself, oh, that ain't cute. That don't look good. It's the same delusion, guys. It's the same delusionary tactics that's going on in this relationship dynamic. It's irrational beliefs, and it consistently sides with their parent. I don't care what you've done, they're consistently siding with them. I mean, you've taken trips with them, you've had talks with them, you've had meetings with them. I mean, you've just spent as much quality time as possible with them, but because they're in that environment, because they've been fearful of that relationship, not wanting to disappoint, not wanting to upset, and sometimes not wanting to be abused physically or verbally or emotionally. Now, guess what? They're gonna side. They're constantly siding with them. Go ahead, sweetie.
The child refuses to visit or spend time with the target parent.
Wow. You know how many guys I've talked to and they just can't get the time with their child? Come on. And again, because most times the woman is the custodial parent. Most times.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're dealing with the issue where you can't even spend time with that child because they refuse to. They don't want to go somewhere to another household where they're not going to be number one. They don't want to go to another household where they feel like they're not even valued or they're not even really a part of, because you spend most of your time there with that group of children, but you spend a limited time with them. And so in their mind, automatically, it's like you want them more than you want them. That's an automatic. That's called human nature. That's automatic. That's why it's important to be a parent like this who refuse to go down that road. Because I'm not going to give you or help develop an opinion about a parent. That's your responsibility to develop that opinion. You're intelligent enough to develop whatever opinion you're going to develop. I don't have to play a part in that. And I shouldn't play a part in that because that's your responsibility to develop that opinion. Let that child look at that mother or let that child look at that father as the best thing ever happened, the best thing ever stepped on God's green earth. Let them have that opinion and let them be responsible for changing that opinion by what they do, not by what you say. Let that transpire, because now it's pure. Now it's not tainted. Now it's not corrupt, because now they've developed their own opinion, their own viewpoint about that parent. Not what they've heard you say for years, not what they've seen you done in relations to them for years, but what they've experienced based upon their own experiences. Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay, last one. The child feels no guilt about his or her behavior toward the target parent and will not forgive past indiscretions.
man, they won't feel no guilt. I'm telling you, they won't feel no guilt. I've seen it. No guilt. No guilt about the decision that was made. No, I did it. You know, what? What you want me to do? I don't know them. I don't know y'all. You know, y'all ain't never want this or you ain't never want that. No guilt about the decision that you made, the decision that you made, the behavior towards the parent. There's no empathy, no sympathy, no guilt, no hurt, no disappointment, nothing that relates to remorse about a decision made concerning that target parent. Why? Because this is how you've been trained.
All right, for years.
This is how you've been trained. The Bible is clear. The Bible is a set of systems. Everything in Scripture is a set of systems, guys. Everything. Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they get old, guess what? They won't depart from it. There's plenty of ways you train your children. It's not just biblical, although he's saying train up that child biblically. Right. Train up that child in relations to him. That's what he's saying. But he's saying if you train up a child in the way that they go, when they get older, they will not depart from it. So when you're spending this time with your child and they're young, and you're using that child as a weapon, you're using that child as a pawn, you're using that child as a tool to hurt that other parent, to take away from that other parent, to despise that other parent, guess what? You're training them in the way they should go. Because they're going to go that way. And when they get old, as much as they want a relationship, my God, as much as they want to be a part of that person's life or that parent's life, as much as they want that parent to be there, as much as they want to be there with their parent, they won't depart from that training. They're not going to depart from that training. Why? Because that's what you've done. You created this situation. You created this dynamic. And now they can't move forward because you trained them up in the way they should go. And now that they're old, they're not departing from it. Systems. Simple systems. The Bible is clear. For all y'all that don't believe it's clear, guess what? I just showed you how it's clear. There's so many ways we can go in Scripture, and it could be life applications that we can show you that, man, this is the holy, unadulterated, infallible word of God. Is clear. It was timeless then, and it's timeless now. It don't change. Them principles don't change. That system does not change. When you don't abide by it, guess what? There's a response to it. When you abide by it, guess what? There's a response to it. And too many people in this blended family dynamic are dealing with this. Too many people are dealing with parental alienation syndrome, and it has to stop. We have to fight this thing, guys. We have to. You don't know how this thing right here we're sharing tonight, this stuff that I've been studying for years. My wife will tell you I'm a studier. I want to know. I hate being in the dark about stuff. I hate not knowing things. I want to know. And so I read, I study, I investigate so that I can be well versed and equipped on things. And so, man, listen, oh my God, we're running out of time. Listen, guys, thank you for viewing with us. We're so excited. Sweetheart, where the book at?
No, but I was going to
go
say
ahead.
that
go ahead.
We maybe when we come back again, we'll have to come with some ways to, because we actually, well, basically just stop. I was going to say some ways to, to fix it. I guess you just don't do it. Just if you're doing it, don't stop doing it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It ain't
Correct.
really no. That's just bottom line on that.
No, really, it really is. It's just a matter of a great way to fix this is if you're that parent, a great way to fix this is understand what you're doing.
But what if you're the parent on the other end? You're that parent that's been targeted.
Then you know how to pray. You know how to respond. Because a lot of times you're praying against something that you have no idea what you're praying against.
Right.
Or you're responding against something that you have no idea of what you're responding to. And so how are you going to be effective? Most people don't want to go to the doctors because they don't want to hear what the doctor got to say. Well, how can you rebuke something that you don't know what you're rebuking? The Bible says Jesus rebuked the wind. He knew it was the wind. He didn't just rebuke something and didn't know what it was. How you going to come up against something that you have no idea of what you're coming up against? And so the purpose of this is to bring identity to what it is you're dealing with, what it is you're going up against. So now you know how to attack it. Right. Now. Okay. So watch this. You want to know how to deal with this? Stop doing it. If you're that parent, stop doing it. This thing is big, guys. You got to understand what you're doing to these babies. And they're going to always be babies, whether they're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. They're going to always be somebody babies. And the effects, the long-term effects of what you're doing now sometimes can't be erased. Yeah. Or the damage is so much that it's hard to go back, man. It's hard to go back. Because they want this relationship. They want better. Watch this. And a lot of them are having children. You know what they're doing to their children? The exact same thing. What that you got in your hand, sweetie?
What I've been holding for a few minutes while you were still talking.
What is it?
The book, ABCs of the Blended Family by Brandon and Madeline Hyman.
Cool, don't talk like that.
Okay, you talk then.
So we're holding up. This is our book. We wrote this last year. It's a real short read.
Short read.
But what we wanted to do is we wanted to give you guys some tools, some nuggets to navigate the blended family. And so we take you from A to Z. Yeah. That's why it's called the ABCs of the Blended Family. And you can just go through every alphabet, and there's something related to each alphabet. You see that? There's something related to each alphabet that can assist you guys in having the best blended family that you can have. And so if you want to know how to get your hands on that, how can they do that?
You can send us an email at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. Also, check out our website, intheblenderministries.com, and tune in on Thursday nights at 8 to 9 p.m. on WJMS 365 Live Radio.
And I'm telling you guys, you want to get this book. Although it's a short read, it's a small read, you want this because it's $15. Yes, it showed that, sweetheart. It's $15. And so, listen, guys, if you're a blended family, you need this in your arsenal. Sometimes you just need something small. This is like back in the day when we was growing up and you had the brass knuckles. Just like the brass knuckles. Yeah. This is the thing you use to knock them out. You want these brass knuckles on your hand, in your arsenal. So that when you're dealing with this blended family, man, you can go right there, pick it up real quick. You ain't got to go through a bunch of pages. You know right what you're dealing with, right what you can use, and you can attack whatever you're dealing with. And I'm telling you guys, it has blessed us. That's the reason why we're sharing it with you guys, because it has blessed our lives and our family tremendously. Even our children use it. And so let me tell you guys, you want this in your library. Also, like Madeline said, you want to tune in WJMS365live.com on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. Awesome broadcast. Most times it's a replay of our Facebook Live broadcast, but you want to check it out. Support that, guys. Listen, we're in over 150 countries. We're worldwide. So we want to encourage you guys to join us as we reach this world for the blended families through In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. We thank you guys for tuning in. It's been awesome. We're back. We're ready to roll. Man, it's been exciting. I tell you guys, if you like this, be prepared because we got some edgy stuff we're going to be sharing. I'm telling you right now, we got some edgy stuff we're going to be sharing, and you don't want to miss it. We love you guys, and until next time.
Yep. See you next time.
Hey, Darren, appreciate you, man. Bye-bye.